Coming up on this episode.
There is definitely some buzz in governmental circles about 2027 in regards to UFOs and disclosure. This is not just the woo-woo channelers that you may not believe in predicting this information. This is a very relevant source. It's supposed to be full open ET contact. That's what's going to happen in 2027.
It sounds to me like he's implying that the government of the world have been gatekeepers for a long time, and around that time, they're going to unlock the gate and let us have more access to information.
I think they're going to have to. Ships are going to just start showing up. Our hand is going to be forced to actually be like, you know what? Roswell happened. There have already been congressional hearings on crash retrievals and reverse engineering. You don't need to hear that from a channeler. There are governmental documents already about that. Just go into the National Archives. You can go find that stuff already.
Come explore the depths of consciousness, where we raise the vibes and open minds.
Let's get in podcast mode.
Check this out.
Never. Mine's better.
It is.
It says, I've got friends in strange places at the bottom. I got this in Taos.
Oh,
Isn't it like just so vibrant and pretty?
isn't it funny how mine's also pink?
Yours is like lavender.
And it says airship needs some space.
It looks
Since
like
you're in space.
this doesn't look like beams. It looks like pee.
Okay.
Like
Maybe it's just
or tentacles.
oil leaking from the ship. Thanks, wife, for getting me this shirt. She got it for me because when we were going to go to Sedona,
Oh, okay.
but we didn't go.
Well, I almost died, so we couldn't go.
It's a sad story, but we're glad you're here with us.
I'm glad I'm alive.
And then we didn't go. That's why you're
So
alive.
that's for a future podcast episode. I will be telling my entire near-death experience. Welcome to the Grounded Galactic Podcast. I'm Allison.
I'm Emily.
And today we're going to be talking about open ET contact. This is like my favorite. We're actually going to be doing an entire series on this as things progress and we know more about what's coming, because I think it's coming soon.
Well, what you sent me the other day said predictions for 2027 that we're going to pretty much start having open contact that year.
As you can plainly see by the shirt the channel is wearing, the title of this transmission is 2027, the year everything changes. We have talked about the idea that open contact is about to happen, is imminent. Within 2 years, they will be officially introduced to your society. At first, most likely hybrids, Pleiadians, and then others.
Some people in our audience will be familiar with particular channelers and some may not be, but there are a multitude of intuitives, psychics, mediums, channelers who have all been, and I don't like to use prediction. They don't like to use the word prediction either. It's a sensing of our collective energy of the earth and humanity and sort of sensing the probability of a future scenario. So it's not like this is going to happen on this day and it's guaranteed at this time. It's not a prediction. Several intuitives I can think of: Darryl, Anka, who channels Bashar, Daniel Scranton, who channels Arcturians, and several others. Wendy Kennedy, who channels Acadian Collective. Rob Gautier, who does reptilians, and some others. I mean, I could list several more. I've actually talked to Nick Pope. Okay, so he's not a channeler. Do you not know who Nick Pope is?
No.
Okay. So you've probably seen him on Ancient Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
He's a former government official in the British government. He's really in the know, and he goes around and goes to a lot of UFO conferences and things like that. So I've met him a couple of times.
Oh.
And I actually got to ask him a question last year at Arkansas's UFO conference in Eureka Springs. And I specifically asked him about what is he hearing? What's the buzz in his circle of influence, which is a lot of them are governmentally connected currently in various governments throughout the world and in the US, as well as high profile researchers and ufologists. And I asked him specifically, What is the buzz that he's been hearing about some big event happening in 2027 in regards to UFO disclosure or anything related to that? And his answer was really interesting.
As you say, 2027. I have heard that, obviously with apologies. I don't like doing this, but I have heard that from somebody with well, a former member of the intelligence community who I won't name because I don't want to attribute, but somebody who was pretty well placed. I have heard that rumor. This, I think, ties in with two concepts, and you may be familiar with these two phrases, but for those that aren't, it's worth just spending a minute or two on them. The two phrases are controlled disclosure and catastrophic disclosure.
You know, he didn't go, I don't know what you're talking about. There is definitely some buzz in governmental circles about 2027 in regards to UFOs and disclosure. So this is not just the woo-woo channelers that you may not believe in predicting this information. This is also, for me, a very relevant source. Just
Interesting.
saying.
Hmm.
And that it's supposed to be like full open ET contact. That's what's going to happen in 2027.
It sounds to me like he's implying that the government of the world have been gatekeepers for a long time, and around that time, they're going to unlock the gate and let us have more access to information. That's how I'm reading that.
I think they're going to have to. Ships are going to just start showing up. So I feel like they're going to wait till the last minute. Their hand is going to be forced to actually be like, you know what? Roswell happened. We have retrieved crashed aerial vehicles of an unknown origin. We have reverse engineering programs. There have already been congressional hearings on crash retrievals and reverse engineering. You don't need to hear that from a channeler. There are
Okay.
governmental documents already about that. Just go into the National Archives. You can go find that stuff already.
I'm channeling the conspiracy theorists of the world, and I'm really curious if there are any theories out there about what if the governments have been playing this long game all this time, like Roswell didn't happen, or some other ET events. You know way more about the different events that have been known more so than I do. Like, what if those were plants? Or what if those were just seeds of something that now later on the government can come back and be like, oh, we're revealing ET life. We're revealing Roswell was real, and we recovered bodies, and we're reverse engineering ships, and we're gonna work with ETs and da 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 da. But what if all of that's just a ruse for some type of purpose for government control? Does that make sense?
So you're saying the government of today is still carrying out this from, let's just use Roswell, 1947, the Roswell crash. So back then, who was it? Was it Eisenhower?
I think so.
So you're saying the government of today is still tracking along with this Eisenhower, or whoever was president, if I'm wrong, plan to eventually, we're 70 years later now, have some type of additional governmental control?
Maybe.
I don't know. It doesn't seem realistic to me.
It doesn't, but hey, it's a conspiracy theory.
Now, I can't see sort of a tangent to that. The government might say, yes, we have alien bodies, and yes, we have reverse engineered, and those ships that are now showing up over the ocean, they're here to hurt us. And now we need to engage our military.
That's what I'm getting at.
And now, okay,
I just didn't explain it very well. So let's say Roswell did happen and there's no imminent open contact actually happening, but the government decides to sort of play on that. And we've got so much media and technology, they could easily fool a lot of people with open contacts actually happening.
I think people are going to have to use discernment. People have had to already use discernment. If you have not yet put that in your toolkit that you use in your personal life day to day, you've got to add it, regardless of UFOs and ETs.
We have AI now. Even people our age who are a little bit more advanced technology-wise than some of the older generations, AI can totally fake a whole alien invasion right on all the mainstream news channels. We can have discernment. We can try really hard, but the most discerning of us probably can still be duped.
Anyone can be duped. Here's my thing about discernment. There's already been deep fakes of, I mean, even when Obama was president, there was deep fakes out about him. That was several years ago now. I feel really thankful that one of the roles that I played in the banking industry for so long was looking for fraud, looking for financial crimes, like really digging deep and questioning everything. And gosh, we saw scams out the wazoo, elder abuse scams, these romance scams. And I just laugh
Tell me more.
every time that I like look at my phone, because every single day I'm getting a scammer calling me, emailing one of my various emails, messaging me on some various platform. And a lot of them are extremely well put together these days, especially if it's like an email that says, there's something wrong with your Amazon delivery or your Netflix account, something that everybody uses. And it's like, click here. No, I'm not going to fall for that.
Well, and you had a career in looking for that.
Right. So like I can generally, now I'm not going to say I'm perfect, but I can generally spot AI media. And even if I couldn't spot it, I know that it's widespread and it's pervasive and it can be used for nefarious agendas. So for me, if they are showing this chaos in the streets and aliens are blasting up cities, I'm going to question it and be like, is that really happening? Is this really the truth? Is it something that I can physically go see for myself? Like I have an actual contact in that area that I can pick up the phone and talk to that has seen it with their eyes. So people need to calm down. If they see something on the news,
It's not going to happen. Here's the thing, though. You have all the discernment in the world, but 90% of people are going to see that. They're going to believe it. They're going to react. It's going to be violent. They're going to be hoarding. They're going to be hunting down their neighbor for resources. And you're going to have to sort of react to their reaction in a way. You're not going to like be able to be out of the fold of that. You're not just going to be able to be like, oh, let me call up so-and-so in New York City and make sure this is real or not. You may not have time because your neighbor might be running down the road with a gun coming to your house. I perceive it was going to be chaos. I hope that I'm wrong.
if the government stages a fake invasion where things are actually being blown up and people are actually being killed, yes, people are going to think we're in a war zone. I don't think that's going to happen. Once they start showing up, people are going to be demanding of the government, tell us about this. You had to have known what is going on with this. And I think at that point, regardless of the leaders that are in place in various countries and who's making the decisions, I really feel that there's this positive momentum towards disclosure. Yes, it's going to be chaotic, regardless of fake invasion or not, because obviously this is going to be like so shocking for so many people. And that in itself is going to be chaotic. I mean, look at what happened with 2020 and COVID. I think this is going to be 100 times more difficult to deal with. And so, yes, discernment is going to be something you're going to have to use. You're going to have to hold your center. You're going to have to try your best not to panic and just kind of, I don't want to say sit and wait it out, but be reflective in that time. So it's 2027 and you see on the news that there are ships showing up over the ocean. What do you do?
First thing I'm going to do is call you and be like, what do you know? And what have you heard in your circles? The next thing I'm going to do is, I think what I would do, like in any type of major disaster or if civil war broke out or the grid went down, like I'm going to locate all of my emergency supplies and probably come to your house.
And we do not have any extra.
Well, I have a tent. Like, I probably would come here. I just feel like it would be more protected in this area where you live, and we could figure it out together. That's what I would do.
So is it fair to say then that you're under the assumption that it's going to be violent
Humans, I believe, will react violently.
towards who? What? Why?
Everybody and everything. They're going to be in panic mode. And I think on top of that, there are so many people who are highly religious. And when this in your face alien life shows up, you're going to be completely questioning everything, your reality, your identity. You're going to have this internal crisis in addition to what is perceived as this external crisis. And we don't know what's going to happen. A lot of people are going to assume that something bad is going to happen, unfortunately. and who knows how our government or the media might spin it. My fear is fear of the other human, and that they are going to react violently and selfishly, and that's how it's going to be.
It's the fear that we've got to get over of whatever it is, of the other human, of ourselves, of the ETs. I don't think you're giving people enough credit, because I've heard you say most people are going to do X, most people are going to do Y. I think you'd be surprised that people who maybe they've never had ET experience or ever really crossed their mind much more than watching like Independence Day or something like that. I think that you would be surprised by the amount of people that are excited and curious and open-minded and want to see. And yes, it'll be, I think, very shocking. People are going to turn on their TV and they're going to get on social media. That is going to be the absolute first thing they do, besides also being on the phone, calling their family members, making sure they know about it and things like that. So they're going to be, I think, in constant communication with their loved ones in some way, but also taking in what's happening on the news. There's going to be a lot of people like me and us who are going to come online and say, this is great. We don't have to hoard. We don't have to shoot in the sky. We don't have to do anything right now. It's okay to not take action just because of something you see on the news or something you see in the sky. There's also a lot of people in my circle who are like, yes, they're here to save us. They're going to fix everything. I am not of that mindset. They're not here to save us. We have to do that for ourselves. But they are here to assist us. Just like any good teacher or mentor, they know more than we do. They're at a higher vibrational level and they can see things that we can't see. Why not welcome them with open arms? But yeah, you never know what your neighbor's going to do.
That's the thing, like, let's forget me saying most people will react such and such. Many or some is enough to set off a whole chain of events that will affect a lot of people that could be in the mindset of happy, excited, welcoming. If one pastor of one church sends a message to all his parishioners saying, take up arms, and the heads of those households do that, that's going to create all sorts of problems for people that may not necessarily have wanted to get involved in that way. Sometimes the few are very mighty, and the few that have the guns can be extremely mighty and can cause chaos in a group of people who might be completely welcoming and open. You say that aliens are not going to come if they believe it's going to cause this worldwide panic. It makes me wonder if there's going to be some other event before that where either our grid's going to go down or we're not going to have access to media. And that way, when they do come, it can be more of a personal, one-on-one, neighborhood-to-neighborhood experience versus something happens offshore, which we have no coastlines here in Arkansas, unless you're talking about like the Arkansas River or something. And it's just spread all over media. So it makes me wonder that maybe there's going to be something else in 2025 or in 2026 or early 2027 that's going to cause the grid to go down, basically.
So that's really interesting. And it made me think of something that I hadn't really thought of before, which is, okay, so I'm an experiencer, but I don't necessarily think that day one, whatever day in 2027 that the ships start showing up, that's going to be the first thing. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to say this because there's still 2 years between now and then. And things are already accelerating. Things are already getting weirder. People are already having more personal contacts with ETs and in small groups. I think that's going to continue. It's going to amp up. It's going to build up to 2027. So I think between now and 2027, there's going to be a lot more people having experiences that they've never had before in specific pockets of areas sprinkled out throughout the world. I love Arkansas, but there's not a lot of people around here like me. And I'm like, let me just move to Sedona or Maui or near Mount Shasta where all of this great energy is. And there's people like me I can talk to about aliens on the street. But then I think maybe I'm planted here because I have a part to play whenever they do come. I can help quell people's fears and help people come back to their rational center instead of being at one extreme or the other.
So you talk about people like you and other experiencers having this sort of amped up experiences so that maybe someone like you in particular who might be planted in an area where there are a lot of non-experiences or people who may be quite a bit different from the population of Sedona, for example. I'm just wondering, In your opinion, are there going to be intentional things from ETs where they are targeting, in a sense, world leaders or big decision makers so that they can have their own personal experiences, so that when that time window comes, they can also help quell fears?
That is already taking place right now. There's a lot behind the scenes that we do not know and we have not seen. So, yes, there are people in governmental circles, scientific circles who have already been having long-term relationships with ET races. This is another thing that all the channelers agree on, that there's been this, they've been since 1947 planting the seeds, kind of like you said, with cooperation from people in the government, the powers that be, movies that we've seen. They're finding planets not within our solar system that have bacteria. So all of these things have been building up to, like, this is just the next logical step.
But I think there's something different between government officials knowing that these things exist versus them having their own enlightening experiences.
They have already been having physical one-to-one contact with ETs. That's what I'm hearing.
Why is there no discussion of that?
The ETs have the ability to measure Earth energies, our collective energies. If we're not ready for it, they're not going to set us into some panic. So there have been agreements that are in place. Oh, what do you call it? The Star Trek series, and they have this directive that's called a non-interference directive. We've been kind of under that for a long time, and that has been lifted. To just cut to the chase on answering your question, yes, that's already been happening. I think there's positive momentum toward the things that we are going to see on the media. I did want to plug this book. It's by Richard Dolan and Bryce Sable. It was written in about 2012, but it's still extremely relevant. It's called AD, After Disclosure, When the Government Finally Reveals the Truth About Alien Contact. It is a really great book. It talks about all of the scenarios that you can possibly think of. I'm not quite done with it yet, but I've been thinking about open contact for my whole life. I have done a lot of studying and read a lot of books and followed a lot of channelers and mediums. And there are things in this book that never crossed my mind. It's just so dang good. And this isn't a book about what's going to happen day one after open contact. It's after governmental disclosure. But for me, that goes hand in hand because there's going to have to be disclosure as soon as open contact happens. I think one of the biggest things after people get over their initial shock of, oh my God, is they're immediately going to go to, why are they here? Who are they? What do they want with us? What do you think the general public, where do you think their mind's going to be?
Where do I think the general public is going to be?
Sure, or your own particular perspective.
I feel like I just have more questions than even answers or assumptions about that. I'm hopeful that the agenda is to assist us. If they have been watching over these many decades and possibly millennia and seen the trajectory of the human species and how we've evolved and where we are now, and now we've got this proliferation of nuclear weapons and we are one click away from destruction of our species, in addition to environmental disasters and social and political problems. Have we reached that sort of apex of we're about to out ourselves? We're at that point where we need to sort of evolve or die. I'm hoping that they're coming to assist us to evolve and to not die. I'm going to certainly hold on to that hope. It would make sense logically, from my grounded perspective, that is how it will play out, because they certainly could have destroyed us already, I would think. They've been observe. They might interject here, contact some people in the public, contact government officials, planting different seeds. And then when the time is right, in their view, to come along. I wonder, though, as I'm saying that, when the time is right, and you say there's this sort of unspoken understanding between government and these entities, I wonder if that's a two-way decision or if ETs are the only ones who have that decision power.
We've talked about time and how everything is here and now, and there is an infinite number of timelines and possible probabilities. If you've seen that movie, what's it called? Everything Happens All at Once or something like that. You've not seen that movie with the hot dog fingers?
What?
Yeah. So I'll just put the movie poster here. And it's all about this concept of timelines. So we're constantly shifting timelines. just the fact that we're talking about this makes me feel like we're on the timeline of open contact. I have been having these experiences my whole life. So I have had this trajectory, but there are going to be versions of Earth that never have this. There are going to be versions of Earth that it is going to be some interstellar war. There are going to be versions of Earth and everything in between. I think there are still choices to be made. They call it like the two train tracks or the two Earths or the splitting Earths or whatever you want to call it. There's not just two possible outcomes. The whole point of it is there's a multitude, an infinite amount of parallel timelines that you can jump to. There are going to be some people that aren't having any kind of ET contact. But I feel like I'm going to be having ET contact. You're going to be having ET contact. So then the question is it going to be positive or negative? I feel like it's going to be positive. That's the timeline I'm on. That's the vibration that I'm holding. That is the experience that I'm going to have. Am I going to see other people having a different type of experience? Probably. But that doesn't have to affect me. I can still be compassionate and helpful, but I believe they have been around for millennia, way before humans existed on Earth, and they have genetically engineered or modified over the years. Earth's kind of like this science experiment.
In my head, when you're saying those things, all I can think of is all the people that will say, God created the earth and the animals and the humans and the oceans and the mountains and the deserts. And what you're saying is blasphemy.
That's their belief system. And it doesn't matter what your belief is. If on day one you have X belief and then the next day something else blows that belief out of the water, you're going to start either questioning your belief, what's really true, what's not true, what does it mean for me, what does it not mean for me, or they're going to hold fast and be like, nope, this is it, and they're just going to deny what they're seeing in front of them. Doesn't matter if it's ETs or not.
So are you saying that ETs have engineered our planet? Because I've heard you talk before about DNA manipulation with human species, but I've never heard you talk about with animal species or plant life.
It's a whole ecosystem. The way that we're designed and have evolved alongside the things that have evolved otherwise on the earth that are sentient beings that are living. I mean, we're all cohabitating the same space. Earth is its own entity. Earth is a sentient being. Every planet is, every star is. Earth is on her own ascension agenda. She just allows us to live here. Just go and watch some of these, looking at all of the ancient history where there's evidence of interactions with higher level beings. These experts talk about there have been interaction with humans and ETs. They have been involved in DNA enhancement, if you want to call it that, DNA mixing. Why can't it be that God created them too? We've said it before. God is everything. God is everyone. God is every time. God is every place. Everything is made of God. There's nothing that's left out. So it's not blasphemy to say ETs created humans. Well, I just made this cup of coffee. Does that make me, I don't know, that's a terrible analogy. But it's like, I birthed a child. My body grew that child. Two people's DNA went into that. Does that mean that I'm not the creator of my child, that God is the creator of my child? Why can't it be both? That's a better analogy.
Yeah, I think my question now is, to what degree do ETs have a hand in creating us versus we're here, we've already been created, or we exist through evolution or through God or however we're here, and then they have contacted us and manipulated our DNA.
I don't think we have all of our history, but I think for me, I'd suffice it to say that even as humans, we have created new species. If you think about how reality works in densities, I'm not this person in this physical body. I'm a grander soul who has concentrated my energy to have a physical experience in this grand simulation of 3D reality. When you're at the level of soul, there's not necessarily a concept of time. And so you want to incarnate into a place that has all of these things you can do because you want to go play a game, have these experiences and learn lessons. So then these souls who are of God, because everything is of God, they choose, okay, I want to go to Earth. I want to be a human. And so I'm going to densify down into this particular body that is based on this particular DNA structure. This DNA structure is created by some type of geneticist entity somewhere else. And I'm incarnating as a soul into this already established DNA structure in this already established planet, in this already established timeline with this established soul family. And that's the experience I want to go have. That's how I think it happens when life is created. It's not just like God touches a mother's belly and goes, "Bloop, there you go, you have a baby." We leave these bodies behind when we die. They're just vessels. You know what I'm saying? Does that answer your question in a roundabout way?
I suppose. I mean, I was thinking when you said that, so you create yourself in that sense, or it's your choice, versus mom and dad have
Your
created
soul
you.
has
And
a
you
choice.
said it's kind of, you try to make the analogy of that you had birthed your child, and maybe that means you're the creator of your child, but really that can't possibly be true, right? Because that child would have said, no, I want to incarnate
No.
here. It's their choice.
What I'm saying is it's all true. The point I'm trying to make is you talked about people saying it's blasphemy because God has to have created us, not the ETs. And I'm saying it's all true. It's true that I created that child because my body grew it, because my body is a part of me. Even though I'm a grander soul, I'm having this valid physical experience. And it is becoming a part of the greater I am. I'm densifying down into this 3D body. This 3D body grew a person. So I can say I created that person. I can also say that person created itself. I can also say God created I can say all of these things are true. I think what I'm getting at is people will say, this has to be true, that can't be true. If you understand the nature of God, you know that God is everything. And they're saying, no, there are things that aren't of God. They're saying there are things that are of the devil. And I don't believe that. Anyway, I'm really passionate about getting this concept into the mainstream. One of the reasons why we're doing the podcast, one of the reasons why, last year I just decided, hey, I'm just going to start telling people that I know that I've had alien experiences. I don't care what they say. I'm just going to start because it's such a huge part of my life. I also have always had a passion to work with children and to write children's books. I actually have a children's book hopefully coming out in the summer of this year. It's called Are They Ready for Us? And it's about these two cute but very wise ETs called Jewel and Henry. They're observing humanity over several decades of time, seeing how we evolve, the decisions that we make. It kind of starts out, we don't love each other, we don't love our planet, we don't love ourselves. All the while, they're sending us love and information, but not interfering. At the end of the book, it's like, what are you going to do? It's a call to action from a kid's perspective. It's obviously a picture book, so it's for very young kids, but I think it's important to start preparing your children as well. They're going to be way more excited about it and ready for it than a lot of adults are. So look to the kids also for staying calm, being excited, being curious and open-minded. So I'm really excited about that book. And
Shameless plug.
how's this shameless plug? I'm encouraged. I know what you're saying. No, but this has been a book in the works for a really long time, way before this podcast was everything. I want to encourage other people to do the same thing. We need more media for kids like this. It needs to be like Mr. Rogers or Sesame Street. It needs to be very wholesome, informative, factual, and developmentally appropriate for that age group. There's not a lot. I've done my market research on things like Sasquatch and fairies and aliens and all the other type of interdimensional beings. Sure, there's books out there about that, but it's like, my alien went to school with me. The alien isn't wearing underpants. It's stuff like that. It's like a silly story. It's not rooted in reality. For me, it's not a realistic view of what might actually happen. How can kids actually interact with these beings? There's so many things that we could be doing geared toward children like this. How to meditate. That needs to be mainstream for kids. I could go on about how the education system is failing, how parents are failing.
Dang.
In what am I trying to say? All the parents, the teachers, the education system, they're in their own cycle, raising the kids up to be in the same cycle. We've got to start changing our systems and changing the way we approach life, or else we are going to just continue to stay stuck.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I'm not saying all parents suck. Okay. Obviously, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I'm excited for a day when things start to change. And from the day a child is born, they're already being exposed to things like aliens and interdimensional beings and meditation and intuition, all of their telepathic abilities and the gifts they have from a very young age, and not discourage that type of thing or call it make believe.
Word. So once all this goes down, are you gonna come to me and be like, I told you so?
There will be some people that will do that to people. I think I don't think I'm gonna be like, "Yeah, I told you so, like, you should have listened to me." So, I mean, I think I'll
To
say,
me, I bet you will, but maybe not to others.
I mean, okay, if you want, sure, whatever, maybe to you. Definitely, it will feel very validating. There will be people calling up their long lost cousin or whoever, their niece, nephew, grandpa, grandma who had the weird story and you haven't talked to them for so long and be like, okay, remember how you said this about aliens? That was true, wasn't it? Can you tell me more? Yeah, I'm excited for it to be a thing where people don't look at me like I'm crazy. And not only not look at me like I'm crazy, but actually see that that information is valuable. People that have had experiences that have been dismissed, especially by close friends and family members, will definitely feel relief and validation. Let's talk about the 3 R's. Let's do our shameless plug for our 3 R's. Emily, go for it.
Oh, well, you all know the 3 R's by now. Reflect, which you mentioned just a while ago. We've got to reflect one today, I think, on our own mindsets going into this potentiality of open contact within this pretty short window of time. What might that mean? How can we try to get ahead of our panic and our fear and be more objective and neutral in the least? And just general reflection about what we want for our lives post this happening and how we can assist the assisters. The next R.
Oh my God, just they are.
The next R. The next R is realize. You take that because I talked about reflect.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, the realization step is key. It just means that you've done enough reflecting that you start having these epiphanies and realizations about things you want to change. You're questioning things and you're realizing things about yourself and you're realizing what your reactions might be. And it's kind of like reflecting is like thinking about making a sandwich. The realization is, okay, I'm going to get my ingredients together. I think I know what I'm going to like on my sandwich and I know why I'm going to like those things on my sandwich. And then the last step, which is revolutionize, is like, I'm going to eat the damn sandwich because I said I wanted the sandwich and it was going to be good for me. You can apply that to anything. But obviously, when it comes to open ET contact, start thinking about it now. Start doing those reflections now and having those realizations now and doing whatever you think in your life that you might need to change, upgrade, whatever it is to make yourself ready and prepared for this shock that's coming. Think back to the year 2020. That will probably put you in the right mindset. Think about all of those things that happened that you weren't expecting, the lockdown, the vaccinations. Oh my gosh, the media. People were hoarding. People were not working for long periods of time and didn't have any money. Your kids weren't in school. Nothing about it was good, but it's kind of like practice for a large scale global situation. You know what I'm saying?
Situation.
Word.
Word.
Do we have big questions?
The big question is, what are you going to put on your sandwich?
What am I going to put on my sandwich? It's going to have cheese in some way, shape, or form. And then some veggies. It's great if it's toasted. What's on your
You
sandwich?
took my metaphorical question and turned it quite literal.
I mean, it's like lunchtime, just about. I'm hungry and I want to eat a sandwich.
I have to figure out first my bread because I don't really do gluten very well now. So I'm probably going to have like a lettuce wrap with some tuna in it, sweet relish, avocado, and maybe some cheese.
Okay. If you love our videos, and even if you don't, you should subscribe and you should like and share and tell all your friends and family about this wonderful podcast for YouTube channel. Support us in that way. We would love to hear from you. We want to see your comments too. Make sure you go to groundedgalactic.com. That's where you can find out everything you need to know about us.
Word.